I know I'm leaving here today with a shirt. That 305 shirt is badass. I saw that 305 shirt on the Canes Wear Twitter feed, and I said, wow, what a nice shirt. And I retweeted it and everything, but I forgot about it. And now that we're broadcasting today from here, I mean, this place is dangerous. It's so awesome. They've got so many cool items here. It blows you away when you're out here at Canes Wear. And that 305 shirt is just badass, man. In fact, I don't know. I may wear that shirt tonight, actually, for the New Year's and have a little fun. Why not? What do you think?
It's a sharp shirt, man.
Isn't
no
it?
doubt.
It's
And
awesome. It's awesome.
Brett must have been reading your mind, man, and set it right there in the window for you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. Well, I mean, he's smart to put it in the window because if people see it, they're going to go, oh, that's a cool shirt. I want to buy that one.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So appreciate all of you keeping it locked here on the program. If you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line at 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105. Let me switch over to a little Dolphins and something that I wanted to talk about because it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? And let's go with the tanking as an example. You had a lot of people out there that were convinced that the Dolphins were tanking. You had people that were describing Chris Grier as a guy that was sitting in his office above, scheming ways to sabotage his coaching staff by trying to lose, which, again, could not be further from the truth. All of those people were dead-ass wrong. Some of them may still think that they're right. Whatever. That's fine. But it all depends on how you look at things, right? And I told you from the get-go that they were not tanking. They were building through youth, and that it may look like tanking to the naked eye, but if you really understand what they're doing is they're building through youth. And so Armando Salguero had an interesting article today and talking a little bit about the Dolphins and free agency. And again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some of you that maybe just tuned in for the first time, you may not have heard it. Those of you that have been following the daily podcast and listening or watching, you have heard me talk about this, okay? And Armando goes, meet the new Miami Dolphins. They're a team that demands that you get used to change and expect the unexpected. The Dolphins are becoming a fascinating organization as they pull away from the dubious 2019 season that just concluded and race full speed ahead to an offseason replete with 14 draft picks, salary cap space, and promise of a master rebuild. And it's going to be a breakneck ride, folks, because the Dolphins have already shown under the current brain trust that they change quickly, morph on the fly, go in different directions, surprise us a lot. I'm talking about the football side of the organization on all levels. Players here today, gone tomorrow. Assistant coaches so integral to making the Dolphins better this morning could be fired this afternoon. The scheme that brought a victory last week is in the trash this week. The star of last week's game, a healthy scratch this week. Philosophy, it's not set in concrete. Direction, always up, but how do you get there is fluid. The Dolphins' only constant has been proven over the past year, and will continue as long as Coach Brian Flores and GM Chris Grier are running the team, is that they're doing what they think is right and right now. Everything else will be subservient to that. Take Monday, for example. Grier paid well-deserved compliments to Flores and his assistants for raising the level of mostly young and mostly unproven roster to the second half of the season and laying a foundation for the future. I think Brian and the coaching staff have done a great job of laying that foundation. 3 hours later, 3 members of that staff helped lay the foundation were either fired or not deemed worthy of re-signing to a contract. Flores fired offensive coordinator Chad O'Shea, yada, 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 you know all that. Flores gets the benefit of the doubt on this because, after all, it's his staff to mold as he wishes. But the O'Shea firing on its face seems odd. The Dolphins' offense undermanned, and the left tackle and starting running back were traded, and the leading receiver went on injured reserve with 13 points and the 8th in passing in the last 9 weeks of the season. But you know why the change was made anyway? Flores decided it was better for the team, right? So remember, this was the Dolphins make a myriad of changes this offseason because it's a carryover approach from the coach's first season. These guys aren't married to anything or anyone when they think they can or must do better. That's why 2 offensive line coaches are gone in the span of 5 months. That's why Michael Dieter was a promising rookie left guard 1 week, then was benched and reinserted into the lineup. That's why Laramie Tunsil and Minkah Fitzpatrick were a big part of the future until they weren't. That's why quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick started the first 2 games, then was benched in favor of Josh Rosen, then was benched in favor of Fitzpatrick, and both will be replaced the minute a better quarterback is found, perhaps even this offseason. And here's a biggie. That's why the overall philosophy for free agency this offseason suddenly seems different. Yeah, philosophy is not immune from being replaced either. Listen to this now. Remember back in September when Greer discussed the team's looming 2020 salary cap boom, the one that will have the Dolphins near the top of the NFL cap space and able to sign any free agents they wish? Greer, we're not going to sit here on a bunch of money or anything, Greer said then. Whether it's free agency as well as the draft for us, we've positioned ourselves. We think we can do anything and get whatever player we feel that will help us as soon as possible. Now, Armando writes, that sounded aggressive, but on Monday the tone was different. First of all, Armando, that did not sound aggressive. It did not. Listen to it or read it. We're not going to sit here on a bunch of money or anything, Greer said. Whether it's free agency as well as the draft, for us, we've positioned ourselves where we think we can do anything or get whatever player we feel that will help us as soon as possible. He didn't say that they were going to do it. All right? They could use their money, but use it on their own. Now, if you've listened to this show, when they said they had a bunch of money, what did I tell you? Do you remember what I told you? Bill, were you paying attention?
I do. And look, I'm even over here doing this, but I do remember.
What did I say?
Only young.
Did I say?
And if it's any veteran, blah, it's 1 at the most 2 years. That's it.
See, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Armando looked at those comments and thought that they were going to go on a spending spree. And what did I tell you when those comments came out? Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to be aggressive, but it's going to be on the right type of players. They're not going to go out and sign guys left and right and spend the money and all of that. So Armando's already writing the article the way he sees it, and he's entitled to see it that way. But he now all of a sudden took those comments and ran with them like they were going to go out on a spending spree. I took those comments and told you they're not. They will spend. And yeah, they could go on a spending spree if they find 3 or 4 25-year-old free agents. Yeah, they'll do that. But they're not going to sign a 29 and a 30 and a 31-year-old to 4-year deals and big-time signing bonuses. That's not happening. I told you that months ago when they said that. But yet, not just Armando, several people in the media took it as, oh, they're going to sign everybody. They're going to be Mr. Aggressive. Oh, man.
We got a bunch of money, so let's go blow our wad.
And when he says we're not going to sit on a bunch of money or anything, Greer's trying to tell you we're not going to be cheap. But he's not telling you we're not also going to be stupid either. So then it says, the rest of the article goes on to say, that sounds aggressive, but on Monday the tone was different. We're going to build it the way we feel right. And yeah, we have money in cap space, but it doesn't mean you have to spend it all. I said that at the beginning. Maybe sometimes what you got to do is look at what's actually going on and don't create your own narrative, because that's what Armando did there. He created his own narrative, and it wasn't only Armando. Several people in the media were guilty of the same thing. Oh, Dolphins have 120, 130, 150 million dollars. They're going to be aggressive in the offseason. Really? How do you know that? Because they didn't say that they were going to go spend a whole bunch of money. They're going to guys, why do you think I've been excited about this? Ladies, why do you think I love what's going on with the Dolphins? Kids, why do you think I believe that they're actually doing the right things? Because they're not signing stupid contracts anymore. They got rid of all the stupid contracts. Haven't you noticed that when they sign somebody, it's their own that they're extending? Because those days are done. Those days of giving those Ndamukong Suh contracts and Mike Wallace contracts and Josh Sitton, which wasn't a big contract, but it was an irresponsible contract because he had foot injuries on 2 consecutive years, and you gave him money anyway, and he had another foot injury and then retired. And you don't do that. You're 31, 32, you're having foot injuries, get the hell out of here. We're not interested. They're not signing those kind of guys anymore. Can't you tell? But again, people that are covering the team locally and nationally, they will want to see whatever the hell they want to see. Oh, no, they're tanking. No, they're tanking. No, they're not, dude. They're not tanking. They're building through youth so they can find young players to build on. They don't want to play a bunch of old guys because they're not the future. So they're not going to hang on to those guys. So why build? So, and you know, the reporters, oh, they're tanking. They could have signed free agents to help them win a couple more games. They don't want to do that, dumbass. They want to go through young players, and they'll win whatever they can with those players. That's not tanking. That's building through youth. Old players will not allow you to play young players who have a future, and old players help you win an extra game or two, which does nothing for you. But again, you see whatever narrative you want to see. If you think they're going to go out and spend a ton of money, you were listening to you were reading the wrong writer, and you were watching the wrong television show, and you were clearly listening to the wrong radio show. Because the only radio show that was telling you they're not spending a ton of money is this one. And I saw the same soundbite that Armando did. Same one. He interprets it one way because he's playing Joe Fan and Joe Media. I interpret it another way because I played it like Joe Football. Because I said, football people, clear out the cap. Football people, get rid of bad salaries. Football people, trade as many pieces as possible, load up on draft picks. Football people, start everything from scratch and build a culture up. Football people don't go out and sign ridiculous free agent contracts in a rebuild. In fact, I heard my boy today, Omar Kelly. I was driving here, and I turned on the Q, and he was on doing Joe's show. And I heard him say, talking about free agency, he says, well, you know, to acquire these guys, you'll have to overpay. Right there, I said, again, you're not getting it. They're not doing that. If you know they got to overpay, I'm already telling you they're not doing that. They're not interested in any of that. They might overpay for one guy or two, when they're one guy or two away from a championship. That's when I can see them going a little crazy, a little irresponsible, and saying, we need that guy, man. We got to win the title. We're right there. We need that guy. That's when they'll do it. But when I heard Omar say that, I'm thinking the same thing as Armando. You're on your own narrative. You're on your own deal. You're going to do what you want to do. And then if the Dolphins don't do it, it's their fault. Oh, my man, that's not how it works. Because they're not doing that. So if free agency, like I told you, if they bring an older guy in, it'll be a guy that's a 1 or 2 year deal. And that will not be a quality free agent. That will not be a stud. Studs don't sign 1 or 2 year deals. Studs want 4, 5, and 6 year deals and giant fat signing bonuses up front. Guess what? Dolphins aren't doing that. I'm just telling you, man. You can read what you want to read. You can listen to whoever you want to listen to. Okay? The only show that's been 100% on target about everything that's gone on over there, which I say over there because I'm blocks away from the facility, it's this one right here. And by the way, all the podcasts are up for months now. You can go listen to them if you want. I warned you ahead of time of all of this. Everything. But again, if you want to create your own narrative, and this happens with fans too. They have an unrealistic point of view of their team, right? Like, whatever. Maybe a fan says that they were going to win 9 games this year. And there's probably a couple fans that thought that, and they only won 5, and they're pissed at Flores. You know, that kind of stuff. That happens. We're all unrealistic sometimes. But, you know, those are examples. When I see this, Flores adds, everyone thinks we've got all this money to spend and blow. We're going to be judicious and responsible with our salary cap. By the way, where is that a bad thing? I'm wondering, where is that a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen? Because that's what I want. I want my team drafting. I want my team finding undrafted players. I want my team developing young players and re-signing their own. I don't know. For those of you that have listened to the show for years, I've been talking about this for decades now. Now I can't even say years anymore. I'm so old now, I can say decades. Okay? I don't want my team spending any money in free agency practically. I'd rather them spend it on 1 or 2 year guys that you can filter in and filter out and doesn't affect your cap or nothing like that. Keep building through youth. Keep building the foundation. When you get to the point that you're loaded, that's when you say, hey, we need this piece or two to get over the top and win the Super Bowl. Boom. You go out there. But what you keep spending is on your own. The Dolphins get in trouble because they kept buying everybody else. Let's give Carlos Dansby a giant contract, and let's give Mike Wallace a giant contract, and Ndamukong Suh, and this guy, and that guy, and before you know it, this is why you're in cap hell. You hang on to Parker, you develop him, now you sign him to a cap-friendly deal for the next 4 years. You grab Eric Rowe off free agency. He's a mediocre corner, but you found a role for him to cover safeties, playing safety. Now you signed him to a cap-friendly deal. I'm sorry, that's the kind of football team I want. Okay? I'm not here to get a quote from Flores and try to put it up there in an article and say everyone thinks we've got all this money to spend and blow and we're going to be judicious and responsible with our salary cap and try to spin that as a negative. That, my friends, is called responsibility. That's how you stay fluid. That's how you stay flexible. And that's how you stay in the game year in and year out. Those teams that have worn out their cap and they're getting money from the future to bring it into this. That's what our team used to do. And all that does is mortgage your future, and then next year you have less and less space. It's a credit card. It ends up catching up on your ass. I mean, look at the cap hit that they had to take this year to catch up. It's like 50, 60 million, man, of dead money. These are players that are no longer on your roster, and you're paying them. Where is that responsible? Where is that smart? And yet you have people in the media that they want to go back to that. This is why, again, I hate to say this and go, I told you so. This is why I love this process. Because you clean the slate now. There are no more headaches from the past. Now you are starting anew. You have all the flexibility in the world. Now you use it the right way. It's not like you picked up this gold digger. She's fantastic in bed. She rocks your world. But she takes your credit card at the end of the day, and she goes out and goes crazy with it. And, yeah, you're getting great action, but, you're paying a hell of a price for it. Okay?
Don't go work out.
There were kids here.
Yeah, you G'd up. You were going to go PG-13, and you G'd up real good, man.
I did.
Good job, bud.
I saw a child there.
You did well. I could
not do that. But anyway,
but don't work out and leave. Don't go for a workout and leave that gold digger at your house.
Right. Well, yeah.
She'll rip. Her and her friend will rip you off.
Yeah, they'll ring your bell. So, I mean, you think that's why I look at all of this, and again, it's the eye of the beholder. And it's America, baby. You're entitled to whatever opinion you want. You can view things however you want, and you as fans can read, can watch, can listen to whoever you want. But all I can tell you is be careful, because there are people that want to create a narrative that does not exist. And then they make you believe that that's what they're doing. It's, I had people telling me, well, the Dolphins said they were tanking. I tell, every time they say it, I say, please find the quote. Please find the audio clip. Where did they say they were tanking? A rebuild is not tanking. And this town, when you write or talk about tanking, and you had Jeffrey Loria here, how dare you even put the Dolphins in the same sentence? That's tanking. It's ridiculous. So for me, that's where I saw this story from Armando, and a lot of the stuff is good. I like the stuff that he was talking about, the changes and all that, but I love that. Well, that's another thing. I love what are you going to do? Keep the same coach around? Are you going to extend Philbin after a stupid win against the Minnesota Vikings that meant nothing whatsoever? Are you going to keep Ryan Tannehill around for 7 years knowing that he can't get it done? Are you going to keep putting Jamar Fletcher out there and he can't play man-on-man? Or are you going to keep playing Eddie Moore when he can't play linebacker? Is that what we're doing? No, you make a change. Love it. Love what Flores is doing. Don't waste any time. You got one shot at this. You can't keep screwing around with this. That's just the way it is. Again, there are so many positives to talk about with the Dolphins and the direction that they're headed in, and the fact that they're making smart, intelligent football moves, and that they're actually now acting like a real football organization. Sorry, man. You're not going to get me to think any other way right now about the Dolphins, because I know when they sucked. I know when they were doing stupid things, because I pointed it out for 20 years. And again, you watch the first couple of weeks, and now you see where they're at. And if you don't feel night and day compared to where you were in week 3 or 4 of the regular season and now, and this guy walked into Foxborough and stole Bill Belichick's lunch, okay, and a lunch that Bill Belichick desperately needed. Let me tell you, he was starving for days. He didn't have any money in his pockets, okay? He looked in his hoodie. He found nothing. And that meal was there, and he needed it in a big-time way. And Flores snatched that right off from under him. And now he's got no bye week, and he's got to play in the divisional round. And the wild card round, I'm sorry. That's, hey, do you have the Tom Brady cut there? All right, remember I told you yesterday, Tom Brady looked like a president after a second term, right? Okay, now listen to Tom Brady talk about what happened against the Dolphins. Listen to Tom Brady. Listen to his voice, okay? This is your coach, Miami Dolphin fans. Your coach did this to the GOAT.
Not much sleep, and, you just have a lot of emotion after the game, so just not you hate to have nights like that, but you got to do something to change them. So, yesterday we had plays I certainly did that I should make, and I didn't make them. And, that's why you lose games. So, it's this week it's got to be more concentration, focus, determination, attitude. Everything has to be at its top this week. I have no injuries. I've said it like a lot. I feel good. There's no injury, no nothing. And wish I would have played better, and that's about it.
Dude is, not much sleep is how he opened up with. Listen to that voice. Yeah, yes, I'm enjoying it, okay? Yes. Anyway, I love it. I love that he's miserable, dude. I freaking love it. And that's your coach in his first year with no talent. And the little that he has is young and inexperienced. And he went up there and he beat Bill Belichick. I don't know how anybody that covers the team, anybody that watches it nationally, I don't know how anybody in the fan base, I don't know how you say one negative word about the Dolphins. Okay? I don't think there's any space for it right now. Everything that they're doing it the right way right now. They deserve the benefit of the doubt at the moment. Okay? After a season like this, that they have turned things around the way they have, that they went 5-4 in their last 9 games, that they've got more wins against playoff teams than a team that went to the playoff, that is in the playoffs right now, in the Bills. That's crazy. That's why I feel you got a coach. I feel you got a front office. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to take a little time to turn this around, and actually less time than I expected, which makes me even happier. I thought, year 4 was like the legit playoff year. I'm already thinking year 3 for sure. The way these guys are going at this pace, hell, they might even make it next year. If they win 5, could they win 9 next year after they load up the roster? Yeah, with some luck and you stay healthy, maybe. But I'll say year 3 to be safe. Okay? Because I was going for year 4, the playoff year.
Well, you said 0, and they ended up with 5.
Right.
I'm going to cut it in half. If you're talking 6 or 8, add 2 to 3. Where are we at? We're looking at 8 to 11.
I just don't want to I just don't want to be unrealistic. You know what I mean? So I just I want to give them a little time here. You know what I mean? I don't know if they'll get their quarterback this offseason.
Once you start putting heavy expectations, you're setting yourself up for failure. And there's no reason for that.
Yeah, and
this is at minimum a 3-year plan.
Yes,
at minimum.
At minimum, yes. Now it looks to me like 3 to get to the playoffs. Just to get to the playoffs. Now win a championship. Just get to the playoffs. That's what it looks like to me. What do we got here? Lakeisha says, the name Jamar Fletcher gives me nightmares. We could have had Drew Brees instead of him. Yes, Lakeisha, you are correct. Don Parlamento says the beginning of the end of the GOAT. Yeah. Dougie Fresh says Brady sounds like he smoked a case of menthols and ate a TV dinner by himself with Centrum Silver. I love it. I love it. It's so fun. It is just it's a great thing, man, to watch. It really is. You know, it's also great to watch a great rack. And, I mean, who doesn't love a great rack? That's why you got to call Eddie Pineda and the great people at Pallet Rack City, baby. Your one-stop shop. It's for all your warehouse needs. Let's straighten up that warehouse. Let's make it look good. You walk in, there's a bunch of stacked boxes, and they're leaning over, and it's all unorganized. And all. You want to make things look good in your warehouse. I want you to call the great people at Pallet Rack City. They buy and sell new and used pallet racking. They've got the largest used racking inventory in South Florida. So if you're looking for used racking, they got it for you. You're looking for new, they've got it also. And they sell used forklifts and dock equipment, and they specialize in knockdowns and installations of your warehouse equipment. Call them, 305-887-9212. That's 305-887-9212 for Pallet Rack City.
I'm going to think about it.
Now I can do it. Oh, yeah.
As I say, try that one more time, sir.
Got my shirt here at Caneswear. I had to get this shirt. Is this a badass shirt or what right there, huh? Look at that, baby. Yeah.
That is sharp, man.
Huh? Love it. Love it. That look good. Little 305.
Pitbull is proud of you, man.
I was 305 before Pitbull. I'm older than Pitbull. There you go. You could get that shirt here at Caneswear. Come on by. They got all kinds of cool items, man. That is a beautiful shirt, man. Pumped. I wanted it when I saw it in social media when my man got it. I said, that's it. I got to go. I got to go. I got to go. Brett's got it loaded up, and it's a beautiful thing. 2511 South University Drive in Davie. If you want to come on out here to Caneswear and get that or any other products. They got Dolphins and Panthers and Marlins and Heat and Inter Miami too. Yeah, when the jerseys come out, they'll have them. I think he put in an order for like 2,000 jerseys. Okay, so when the Inter Miami kits come out, because that's what they're called. That's what the football people call it, kits. They don't call them jerseys. They call them kits. Jersey is an American thing that we use. Hey, Big O, how come you don't do Periscope? Oh, no. What we do is, my bad. We usually pass on the link over to Twitter, Periscope, and so people can find it. We didn't do that today. I usually do that. But we're funneling everything through the YouTube website. And why are we doing that now? Let me explain. We talked about this. Not everybody has Facebook. Not everybody has Twitter. But everybody can use YouTube. And that's why we're doing it through YouTube. Because everybody can watch YouTube. You don't even need a subscription. But the Twitter stuff, the Facebook stuff, and obviously Periscope is Twitter. That's why what we do is we put the links so the people on Periscope and Twitter can then come to YouTube to watch us. And at the beginning of the year, in a couple of days, or in other words, next week, I think, you'll be able to go straight to our website, which you can already go, BigORadioshow.com. And, folks, you can listen to any of the podcasts there. Our YouTube, this picture here that you're watching, is embedded already in our website, but it's not active yet. It'll be active, I think, by next week. So for those of you that maybe are not comfortable getting the app on SoundCloud or iTunes or whatever, you could just go to our website at Big O Radio Show, and you can listen to all of the episodes and segments and rants and interviews and all that good stuff there. Joe is asking, I'm from Miami, but moved to Tampa 4 years ago. I root for Orlando City. Look forward to the new rivalry. So do I, sir. It's going to be fun. I'm rooting for Orlando City, too, until we get our team, which we finally got it. I was a Portland Timbers fan until Orlando got their team. Then I rooted for Orlando City the last couple of years. And now I can root for my own team here in the MLS now that I've got it back. Let's see. Periscope, you can hear you in the background. Huh? I don't understand that. What do you mean? I don't get it. You're not hearing me now, or what? I don't get that. You mean you hear me in the background? What does that mean in Periscope? I don't get that one.
He's listening to music and he could hear you in the background. No.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. I'm
okay.
joking. I'm joking.
Well, I may say no, man. Whatever floats their boat, bro. It's fine with me. I don't see the Dolphins drafting a QB in 2020. I think they will, Emilio. I think they will. I think they'll draft a QB at one point or another in that draft. I really do. But we'll see. You might be right. You never know. Either way, I cannot wait for what's it called? For April to get to Vegas. Well, one, because it's Vegas. I mean, give me any excuse to go to Vegas. My wife is bored with Vegas, but I'm not. Okay? I'll never be bored with Vegas. I've been there too many times. I know the place too well. I know it like the back of my hand nowadays. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, that's the other thing Bill benefits from. It's going to be his first time in Vegas. But he's with me, so I know all the ins and outs, so we'll be able to go all over the place and with no problem. I even know the back streets on how to cut through certain hotels and all that, because the traffic sometimes can be a bitch. Man, traffic can be a bitch. Got to visit make sure if you're going to Vegas, okay, and you're going to go out for the draft, and you're going to join us out there for the draft, which I hope the Dolphin Nation comes out to Vegas and joins us for the draft at Tommy Rockers. Okay, we got to get Tommy on the show, too, to talk. But the Pinball Hall of Fame is there, and it's right on Tropicana. It's about 1.5 miles off of the Strip. Let me tell you, that's a cool place. If you like video games, you want to definitely go to that. The Dolphins should go after Chase Young. That kid is a beast. Yeah, they should. The problem is the Dolphins cannot, because he's number 2 in the draft. And then you're going to have to trade a whole bunch of picks to move up, and at this point, it's not worth it. If you know how to draft, you'll get a great player at 5. If you know how to draft, you'll get another player at 18 and another player at 25. Okay? You'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. I think they actually know how to draft here now. I think they're going to come up with some of the best draft picks that they've had here in a long, long time. Just got to be patient, folks. Just got to hang in there.
That kid from Clemson, Isaiah Simmons.
Yes.
The number, I love that kid. They project him in the middle, 10 to 15, 12.
Yes.
I love the idea of trading out that 5, getting more picks, and grabbing that kid. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, listen, they're going to have a shot at all kinds of really good talent over the next couple of months when they get into the draft. Plus, with all the picks that they have, it's going to be amazing. By the way, the Big O Show is proudly brought to you by Moody's Dental. And for over 30 years, folks, they've been using the latest dental technology. Take it from a guy that has experienced it myself. And they give their patients the smile they've always wanted. Start the year right by calling them at 305-821-0231. Tell them that Big O sent you, and trust me, Moody's Dental will take care of you. 305-821-0231. Visit Moody'sDental.com. They are your implant and Invisalign experts. Come on in for a free consultation. Tell them that Big O sent you, and they will take care of you at Moody's Dental. All righty, it is time now for our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report, and we do it every week here, of course, with Manny Navarro from The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Yeah.
What's up?
Yes, sir. And it's all brought to you by Caneswear, and that's, of course, caneswear.com. Go to the website. Follow them on Twitter at Canes_wear. We're broadcasting from Caneswear right now at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. All right, Manny. First of all, my man, talk to me about the coaching change. What do you think about it, and who is going to be their offensive coordinator?
Well, it's a great question. Manny Diaz obviously said yesterday that he's already spoken to 7 or 8 guys, both at the college and pro level. I will remind everyone that when we went through this a year ago, when Manny Diaz was named head coach, he said the same thing, and we basically still waited another 2 weeks for this to be resolved. So I don't know where they are as far as progress in terms of nailing down who it is that they want, but obviously spread up-tempo is the priority. So a lot of the names that I've reported and others have reported, the one new one was Keith Hefferdeck, I guess, from Arizona State, who is a disciple of Larry Fedora at North Carolina. Talking to some of the former players, they kind of like that offense a little bit more. It's more downhill running, more running back friendly, sort of what Fedora did at Carolina with his offensive schemes. And so if it's going to be an offense that's more running back friendly in a spread offense, I think that probably does Miami good, especially when you've got 2 talented incoming freshmen like Jalen Knight and Donald Chaney Jr. So, I think that's the preference. But to me, listening to Manny talk yesterday, I think up-tempo is a big part of it. And, Dan Enos only ran the no-huddle 7% of the time in his offense at Miami. Manny Diaz wants opposing defenses gassed. He wants them scrambling to make switches. He wants them on their toes. And I think that's going to be the priority with whoever it is that they hire for the OC.
So let me ask you something. Okay, here's the part that I don't know if I have the answer to it, and I don't know if you have the answer to it. I might be being unfair to you here. All right, so you want to run the spread more, or you want to run no huddle, all this, but isn't it also up to your players being able to handle all of these kind of things? So does Manny feel like he had the quarterbacks that could handle this? Or maybe is it that, Enos felt that he didn't have the quarterbacks to give them more responsibilities out there? Where do we land on this? Because I don't have enough information to tell you either way.
Yeah, here's one thing, and it's funny. I just recorded my latest edition of the Wide Right podcast, and we tackled a lot of these topics. But here's what I'll stand. Mark Richt, when he was coach his final season, okay, when we were all complaining about the playbook, right? We were all saying, man, it's so simple. Mark's thought was, hey, listen, I've got to get these guys just to get one play right because they're not smart enough. Without saying they're not smart enough, he basically said they're not smart enough to run a more complicated offense. So what does Manny Diaz do? He goes out, he brings in Dan Enos, who runs a much more complicated offense in terms of motions and switching and different things that he was supposed to do. And Dan Enos basically tells us at the end of the season when we had our little press conference with him on signing day, well, we couldn't play fast, we couldn't play up tempo, and we couldn't do some of the things we wanted because the kids didn't know what we were doing. They didn't know the offense. They weren't smart enough to pick it up. So to me, without question, there is an intelligence issue, not only from the quarterback being able to make second reads and third reads, but the receivers running the routes. One thing I will say, I had a long week. Actually, you know this. I was in Shreveport for the bowl game. Drove to Dallas, flew home from Dallas, got up the next morning, drove to Orlando for the Under Armour media day to go talk to all these All-Americans. Miami had 4 kids playing in the game on January 2nd. So, but they were there to talk, and I talked to 3 of them. The one thing I've been struck not only by those 3 kids, but also other ones, including Tyler Van Dyke, who I went to go visit in Connecticut, and Jalen Rivers, who I've seen in Jacksonville, and different kids. I feel like this is a much smarter recruiting class in terms of intelligence level, in terms of understanding of football concepts than the guys that are currently on the team now. And I think you hit it dead on the head. If the kids don't know what they're running, you're not going to be successful. I think whatever offensive coordinator comes in, the number one thing Manny Diaz is going to want to do and say is to have these kids understand what the hell it is they're doing and be capable of executing it and not looking lost and not looking slow because they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, listen, the current Miami Hurricane players aren't very smart. They celebrate penalties. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, give me a break, bro. I was watching this other Canes player that he went and put out his highlights of the game. And it's like, dude, you lost to Louisiana Tech. Why are you putting out your highlights from your own? Like, I think he titled it like "See God" or something like that. Or do you know who I'm talking about? The UM player.
It's so hard. It's so hard to keep up with all of them,
right?
All because they're all on social media constantly.
I mean, I was looking at it now, and I forgot the kid's name because somebody here was showing it to me, and it's like. The kid's like edited his highlights from the La Tech game just so he can put those up. And it's like, dude, do you realize you lost? Who cares what you did, bro? And that's the problem I see with what he has there at the University of Miami.
There's certainly a lack of leadership. And, you know, I dug more into kind of what's been going on behind the scenes because once guys are fired, and kids transfer, you start to hear people open up a little bit more about what went wrong. Mm-hmm. Number one, I think there was without a question a problem between Dan Enos and his quarterbacks. There were guys in that room who flat out hated him. And I think certainly there were other players on the team, guys that he would chew out. And then, you know, Dan wasn't afraid when he went to press conferences with us to bring up the real problems with those players. He would criticize them saying, hey, you know, now, you can look at this two ways. You can say, man, you know, Dan Enos, you got to be smarter. You want your players to like you. Or you can be old school like the rest of us and say, well, why are these kids so damn soft? And I think, you know, again, it's not just a Miami problem. Because I've talked to other college coaches and assistants at different programs. Again, when you had me on last week right after the bowl game, we talked about this. It's a generational thing. These kids nowadays, I mean, a lot of them have to be sort of dealt with kid gloves. And there's a lot of a feeling of, you know, hey, you know what? These coaches owe me. And I'll tell you where it all begins. It begins at the youth level, okay? It begins at the high school level with these kids transferring to 2 and 3 different schools because, hey, you know, I don't like the way this coach is playing me. And, hey, he's not playing me at the position I want. The days of earning the respect of your head coach and playing for your head coach and you know, it's really in the rearview mirror. This is a much more selfish society in terms of players. You see it with Antonio Brown, right? You see it with these guys in the NFL when they get the big Twitter following and all that. In a lot of ways, the tail is wagging the dog now, and these coaches don't know how to deal with it. And the transfer portal has only made it tougher because now these kids think, well, you know what? This coach doesn't like me. I'm going to figure out a hardship. I'm going to figure out a way to get myself eligible for next season. So the whole thing right now, the whole society, the way all of this is working, there are hurdles to deal with. And I think Manny Diaz underestimated because his defense was successful. I think he underestimated how difficult it was to be able to get the offensive guys that he had nothing to do with recruiting to play for Dan Enos and to play for him. And so now that he's the head coach, his guys, the guys that he's bringing in, the guys that he's recruiting, we'll have to see if they act and perform differently because they're quote unquote Manny guys and not Mark Wick guys or somebody else's guys.
All right. So what's the latest on some of these guys using the transfer portal, like Lingard and stuff? What's going on?
Well, Lingard clearly wasn't happy that he didn't get a chance to play this season. I know he came back from major knee surgery, and you know, by all accounts, even his, in terms of, you know, what he supposedly told Manny Diaz, he wasn't right, and he needed to get healthy. Now, I think Manny sort of set a dangerous precedent by telling us in the press conference, yeah, well, he's going to get involved. We're going to get Lorenzo to play more. And then you go to the bowl game, and he doesn't play more. I think Lingard is probably going to head to either Florida or UCF because it's close to home. I think he's trying to get a hardship, and he's got a family member who's sick. And so he's trying to get a hardship to be able to play right away next year. And so the Gators have a need at running back. So to me, my gut tells me he's going to end up in Florida, which is where his cousin, Avante Williams, the 4-star safety, is probably going as well.
Nice. And the Florida kid just had a nice day to close out his career last night against Virginia. So yeah, he can step in. Now, how much was it injury? What kind of kid is he? What personality clash was there? Was he working hard? Is he an entitled kid? What did you hear about it behind the scenes with Lingard?
Well, look, I think certainly when you're a five-star recruit, there is a sense of, hey, I should be on the field playing. But I think, the injury was a serious injury, and my understanding was the majority of his teammates liked him. I don't know that Cam Harris necessarily did, because Cam Harris, I don't know if you saw the riddance to Lorenzo Lingard, but certainly I think there were a lot of other guys who liked Lingard, and I don't necessarily know that the coaching staff didn't like him. I know Coach Eric Hickson was trying to get the kid to be patient and to understand that, hey, you're going to get a chance here, but again, it's a different era, man. God knows what the Florida coaching staff or other coaches have been telling Lingard's family behind the scenes about the opportunities maybe to play right away and to be the quote-unquote man. I do know that his kids, they certainly look at who's recruited. Miami signed two stud running backs locally who both could play quite a bit as freshmen. And I think Lorenzo Lingard just decided it was a better decision for him to leave. And sometimes, that's the best thing for both sides. I know it hurts. Miami fans don't like to see a five-star kid leave, but if Lorenzo Lingard goes somewhere else, to Florida per se, and has a good career, and Miami ends up just fine with the other guys, then you know what? No sweat off your back.
No, you're right about that. It's just, to me, I don't know what this kid is, so I don't even know if it's a loss or not, because I've seen plenty of 4- and 5-star kids that never lived up to any of the hype. But what did you hear about him that makes you think that it could have been a loss overall?
Well, I mean, he's just a super explosive speed. He's a track guy, a guy who creates great separation. I mean, the one game that we saw him, we couldn't really tell because it was Savannah State, so it was a terrible opponent. But certainly, I think, the kid was gifted in terms of breakaway speed and being a home run threat. And obviously, there were other schools who wanted him as well. So it wasn't just Miami who recruited him. He had a lot of great football teams, Power 5 teams that were after him, and there was a reason he was a 5-star recruit. To me, I said this to somebody else, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but I think the star system, I think there should only be 5 stars. I honestly do. I think whoever's an All-American, whoever is a 5-star, like literally the best of the best, those are the only guys who be rated, should be given a star rating, because the rest of it, to me, it really doesn't matter. The 4 and the 3 and the 2 and that whole system is just, it's a joke. The best of the best. Every scout can tell who the best of the best is. Beyond that, it's just an opinion. So, to me, obviously, this kid is gifted. He's, like I said, super track speed, super breakaway speed, and he's going to go do it for somebody else.
All right, Manny Navarro, of course, joins us every week for our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report, and you can follow him on Twitter, like I and so many others do, at Manny_Navarro. Any other recruiting news that we should know about, my brother?
Well, I mean, they've certainly offered, different guys here in the last few weeks, a couple cornerbacks, a couple of offensive linemen. I haven't been focused so much on that because we still got a month away from signing day. But Kane Sport and Inside the U and all those guys, your boys Andrew Ivins, they report a lot more on the day-to-day happenings of recruiting. The one big story you haven't asked me about, obviously,
Alonzo.
Alonzo. Yes, the Alonzo Highsmith. I'm sure that was probably one of your subjects coming up. But
yes.
I've exchanged text messages with Alonzo, and obviously I got a lot of sources at Miami. This whole thing, to me, it's kind of comical. I know there's a push to bring Alonzo in because he loves Miami, would probably be a great athletic director. But
he's not a college guy, but he's not a college guy. He's a pro guy.
Right. He's a talent evaluator. And here's the thing people need to understand, okay? Number one, he spent a lot of time in the NFL in terms of moving up the ladder to get himself in the position to be a general manager, to be a front office leader. He's basically, I think, the number 2 or number 3 guy in Cleveland as it stands. To take a chief of staff position, the number one thing as far as chief of staff, okay, and I asked all of our college football beat reporters at The Athletic. It's a great part about being a part of the network. I asked all of them, I said, okay, guys, who has these chief of staff positions, these quote-unquote overseers, and what do they do? First of all, there's a lot of teams that have had a chief of staff, okay, now, Power 5 schools. FSU just hired one, Penn State. Mike Leach has one at Washington State. Washington has one, Arizona State. All these guys sort of got back to me. The job is essentially part of what the head coach does. It's handing off several duties that the head coach usually handles, like overseeing the equipment team, the video staff, recruiting staff, NFL scouts, administrative work, branding, serving as sort of a gatekeeper, for the head coach to allow him to maybe be more involved in the football aspect of it. That's not what Alonzo Highsmith does. He is a talent evaluator for the Cleveland Browns. He goes to pro days. He goes to the combine.
I know. I see him all the time. Trust me.
Yeah,
and I'll be hanging with Zoe at the Senior Bowl and at the combine shortly. Yes.
Yeah. So this job, this chief of staff position, to me, it's funny how this came out yesterday. You get Manny Diaz coming on the radio talking about, hey, we're going to go to the spread, we're going to go to up-tempo, and then 6 hours later, you get the athletic director, Blake James, to come on to say, oh, yeah, and yeah, I know all of you guys want Alonzo Highsmith, and we're going to create the chief of staff position. And it's just, to me, it's kind of funny. We got a long time before the football season, man. And these guys, there's no way for them to win over anybody until they win a football game. So I think coming out and talking about doing all the things that the fans want is maybe their way of, hey, calm down, guys. We're working on it. Gee, we want a chief of staff. We want Alonzo here. We want to run a spread. The reality is none of it matters, though. Until they get on the football field and win, the heat is not coming off Manny Diaz or Blake James. And this whole position for Alonzo Highsmith, unless he's coming in to run the athletic department and be in charge of hiring and firing football coaches, there's no way that he ends up at Miami.
Makes all the sense in the world that he shouldn't come here. And Manny Navarro, of course, with our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report here. We do it every week at this time. You can follow Manny on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. And, of course, come on out to Canes Wear 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Brett is out here with me right now, actually, watching the segment. All right, Manny, so are these the changes that are going to happen in the coaching staff? Are they done? Is this it after the OC? You hear anything else? Or that's
no. Obviously, look, Eno's brought in Butch Berry, the offensive line coach, and Taylor Stubblefield, the receivers coach. Manny praised Stubblefield yesterday, saying he felt like the receivers were running routes better, that they're being coached up better. As far as the offensive line is concerned, knowing the players, talking to a few of them, talking to some of the recruits, they really like Butch Berry as far as a tactician. But ultimately, whoever the offensive coordinator is, you know and I know, we've been doing this for a long damn time, they want their own guys. 99% of the time, they want their own guys. So I'm sure whoever Manny hires is going to want to bring his guys with him. And so anybody who is an offensive coach, to me, is capable of being let go. If that coach wants to bring somebody with him to be part of his staff. And the interesting thing here is, too, this can't be understated enough. This team was 6-7. There's a lot of pressure on Manny Diaz to win next year. If they have another season like this, he can be gone. And I think that obviously has to be considered by the offensive coordinator who's going to take the job. They have to know, hey, I'm coming in to work for a coach
who
could potentially be gone, right?
Yeah.
Who's on the hot seat. And an athletic director who's very much on the hot seat, I would think, based on what's sort of happening at Miami and the level of anger and frustration towards the football program. So it'll be interesting to see who they hire. This Heckendorf guy out of Arkansas State, again, he's at Arkansas State, so I'm sure coming to Miami would be an upgrade for him as an offensive coordinator. But some of the other names that we've heard, I know everybody's all excited about Joe Brady because he's a local guy, and the Broyles winner at LSU. He's not going to leave LSU to come coach and be the offensive coordinator at Miami, even if this is home. You would have to give him $3 million and maybe a promise that he'd be the head coach if anything happened to Manny Diaz, I think, to get him. So, to me, it's going to be interesting to see who they hire. And my understanding from hearing internally is, yes, they'd like to do this fast and get somebody to be the head coach. but I also think it's going to be a challenge to get the next guy if it's going to be a big name.
I mean, it only makes sense that he's on the hot seat, but the Blake James right now has definitely got to be feeling it, right? I mean, he's got.
Yeah.
I would imagine that right now he's trying to do everything to help Manny to succeed because this is like his first big time hire as an AD.
Right. I mean, obviously he hired Mark Richt.
Oh, he did Rick. That's right, and it didn't work actually.
Right. Well, it worked in the sense that they went 10-0 and they showed flashes, but then it didn't work because it fell apart at the end. But
right.
I think without question, look, there's enough people complaining about the football program, and I've said this to you many times. Manny Diaz and Blake James are paying for the sins of this football program being bad, not just now, but for the last 15 years, even if they weren't necessarily a part of it for all of that time. So, yes, everything is ramped up. And then when you go out and you lose to FIU, it only amplifies it more. Look, had Manny beaten FIU and won the season finale against Duke, and they finished 8-4, I don't think we're hearing the yelling and screaming quite to this level. I think people are frustrated, but the fact that he lost to FIU, that was the crippling defeat. That was the, hey, you know what? Your ass is on the hot seat loss. And again, nothing is going to change till these guys go out and go 10-2, 11-1, and show that the thing is really headed in the right direction. And I think Manny knows that. He knows he's in a tough spot. But, all these little games going on, saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to the spread. It's trying to win over the fan base when really you can't win over the fan base this time of year.
All right, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Catch him every week at this time right here as we do our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. And come on out to Caneswear at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Manny, as always, Studley, my brother, thank you, and Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you both, and let's hope 2020 is better for all of us.
You bet.
Happy New Year, Manny.
You know it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. There you go.